Faith, Purpose, Profit Live, a time I pour into you once a week, really in my calling to make sure you get in alignment with yours. Connecting all things faith, purpose, and profit. I'm Nicole Jones, the purpose producer, also known as the Labor and Lyrics expert, and I'm always excited to be here with you week after week. So you come in, tell me hello, tell me name, where you're joining from, and as I'm sharing, if you have questions, if you bust up your toes, if what I'm sharing resonates with you, I want to know. So many heart emojis with me, some fire emojis, hand clap emoji, what you ask your question. I am looking and teaching at the same time. So I'm excited. This week's episode is why your business and your purpose is stuck in second gear. You know, the thing that I think is so interesting in 28 years that I've been in this business, the thing that I see happen to so many entrepreneurs and many people that want to start a business is that you've already been successful. And so you get to a place when you're looking at how do you take this and build a business around it to create streams of income, you get stuck. So I want you to think about what second gear means and really look at it from the context of driving a car. Now, I am an automatic girl going through, and I remember when I was learning how to drive a stick. I remember how often I would just place it in gear two, afraid to go higher. See, driving in second gear is average. Some people, it's like Sunday driving. You know, Sundays. It means you're just enough to roll, but you're not doing enough to really get where you're going. And many start your business. The reason why your business isn't working is just second gear. You're average, just enough. You're not going over what's necessary. Listen, in Proverbs 23, Solomon warns that is disastrous. Takes wisdom. And I really want you to get it. Can you guys hear me? Somebody say me clearly. Please let me know if you guys can hear me clearly. I've been working on my audio last hour. Let me know that you're not hearing me clearly. I thought I had some audio issues. Let me know. I can make some adjustments. Looks like let me try one thing, y'all. Tell me, does this sound better? Tell me, does this sound better? I've been having so many issues with StreamYard. I don't know why all of a sudden I'm using the same mic. But I can roll with it and I'll start over from the beginning. Sounds better? Somebody says perfect, that's better? Yes, good. No robot, no reverb, nothing. Okay, good. Yay! Okay, so let's start over. Welcome to this episode of FPP Live. So again, our conversation for this episode is the reason, no, not the reason, but why your business is stuck in second gear, your business and or your purpose. And what's interesting is so many people that are starting a business or have been in business for years or want to get clear on your purpose, there is a place you get stuck in, and so many people don't make it from that place. And so because I care about you being in alignment with why God created you, because I want to make sure you're one of the people that make it. Listen, Bloomberg Report wrote an article a couple years ago, and not Bloomberg, sorry, Forbes did, that shared a Bloomberg report that said 80% of people that start businesses fail. And literally, when you are looking to start a purpose-focused business, that's even more detrimental because you're doing the thing that God created you to do in this world. And there are people that need you. And you can't afford to live in second gear in your business. So what do I mean by second gear before I start going in? So think about it like this. You know, I'm an automatic kind of girl when it comes to driving a car. But I remember when I used to try to drive a stick and I was learning how to drive a stick. It was easy for me to stay in second gear. It was easy because you started first. It was easy for me to get to second. It was third, fourth, fifth. That was hard for me to do. And really wasn't hard. It was scary for me to do. And what I have noticed in the 28 years of being in this work, and this was me for 17 years of it, those of you that have heard my story, is that you want it to be easy. And so you're sitting complacent, or you rely on things that are not going to take you to the next level in your business. Those of you that are here with me week after week, you hear me say this all the time. God's not coming for who you already are. He's coming for who you have not yet become. So if that resonated with you, I'm talking directly to you. If you're tired of being good enough or living good enough, you're tired of settling, if you know, like you know, you've been an average, and so your average might be beyond anybody else's average, but it's still your average, then that means you're in second gear. That means it's time for you to move into what's next for you. Because you can be complacent, and you can sit in comfort, and you can settle. But why would you do that when God has so much more for you? And there are people that need you. So in this episode, I really want you to have a real conversation with yourself as I share with you the areas that most of us get stuck in, me included. It wasn't until I hired a coach that I realized how stuck I was. And because I spent years walking in the dark. I don't want you to walk in the dark. So here's Proverbs 1:23. Here's the Bible verse of our foundation for this part. Now, this is Solomon talking, and he's warning against, or he's saying this is disastrous to ignore wisdom. Okay? So here is the Bible verse, Proverbs 1:23, and it says, "For the turning away of the simple will slay them, and the complacency of fools will destroy them." And in one version of the Bible, it says turning away means waywardness. So I'll look at what waywardness means. I want to make sure you guys have understanding of the context by which I'm sharing with you. I'm having static again, y'all. I don't know what to do with my mic. I don't know what's going on. Because I've done all I can do. Let's see. Is that better? Static still coming. Gotta love it. I don't know what is going on with this thing. Is that better, y'all? Maybe the enemy is fighting me to share. Static. Let me know. Let me know. I don't know what bees means. Does that mean yes? I don't know what's going on. It's not better. Jesus! Okay, so what I'm going to do, let me try one other thing. And if this static continues, let me see. So it's not better. So how about I'm going to do it without my microphone? How about that? So tell me how it sounds now, everyone. Can you hear me? I'm gonna make sure you can hear me before I keep going in because I'm going to give you some steps. How's that? Better? Clear? Am I loud enough? Can you hear me? I don't know what's going on with this, but I got to get it together. Okay, so great. So let me go back to the beginning. I want to make sure you guys have context, okay? In case you missed it. So here we go. Take 3. Live and take 3. So in this episode of FPP Live, again, a time I connect with you every Monday at 7 p.m. EST, our conversation for tonight, for this episode, is why your business is stuck in second gear. Why your business is stuck in second gear. The thing that is really sad is so many of you think you're doing well in business. And then all of a sudden something's not working. You know why? Because you're stuck in second gear. Or many of you won't ever get to the level that's available for you because you stay stuck in second gear. So I want to make sure that you understand where you are, give you context, let you assess where you are, tell you why it's not working in that place, and give you tools to move it forward. That sound good to you? So as I share this with you, let me tell you what I mean by second gear. So I am an automatic kind of girl when it comes to driving a car. So I learned how to drive a stick and I really wasn't good at it. So I remember moving from first gear to second gear, and then I'd stay in second gear because it was easy. And to be honest with you, if I'm going to keep it all the way real, I would get scared to move it into fourth or fifth gear because that means that I was going faster and I was doing something that I was afraid of. I wasn't willing to take a risk. And what I know is the place you grow is not going to be an average or mediocre. The place that God is going to use you is not going to be in a place that you've settled or you've sat in easy. It's going to take you revving up to go after what's next for you. And that's what I mean by your business is stuck in second gear. And so our Bible verse that is our foundation for this part one of our conversation is Proverbs 123. Now, this is actually Solomon who is warning that it's disastrous to ignore wisdom. You see, wisdom says that we need to seek counsel when we feel like we're an average, that we've got to move and grow ourselves. And so Proverbs 123 says, "For the turning away of the simple will slay them, and the complacency of fools will destroy them." So that turning away of the simple, it's like you're ignoring what you see. You know that you're sitting in simple and you're going to act like it's not there. You're going to act like, oh, this isn't simple. Yeah, you know it's simple. You know it's easy. You know that you could be working harder. And the complacency of fools will destroy them. Because when you're complacent, you're settling. And so what I really want to do is walk you through 8 areas. I'm going to walk you through 4 here in part 1, and then I'll tell you about part 2 momentarily. But I want to walk you through the 8 areas that could keep you complacent only if you let them. Listen, one of my favorite quotes, deliberate mediocrity is a sin. Because God didn't create you to be mediocre or to settle or to live in good enough. Listen, if you're going to go after abundantly above all you ask or think, that's not good enough. That's not mediocre. That's not settling. That's not in second gear. So I want you to take some time to really look at where are you in living out your purpose. Because you've got to understand your purpose is bigger than you. It's why God created you. It's why you are here and how God wants to use you. Okay? So you got your pen? Because you guys know I'm going to go all the way in. So there are 8 things you've got to look at. And some of you will be bumping up against several areas. Be honest with yourself. And as I walk you through these 7, I want you to assess where you are. And then the second thing I'm going to do is show you where you get strategy, okay? So the first area you want to look at, first thing is keeping you in second gear, is you're following someone else's definition of success. I see so many people that listen to their family because their family says, oh, you should be this. Or you started off in one place, and because you had that original plan for your life, when you try to do something else, people remind you, oh, didn't you say you want it? And you've got to know that no one else can define success for you. That's a conversation between you and God. And when you let perception or other people's judgment or what other people think you should do stand in the way of your brilliance, of your calling, of your purpose, you'll sit in second gear. You know, this reminds me of a conversation I had with Sophia Nelson, who's a girlfriend of mine and who has been a client. And I remember Sophia said, now Sophia is now a political pundit. She's on CNN and MSNBC. You see her on the Griot writing, and you see her all over the place, those of you that know who Sophia Nelson is. Now, Sophia started as a lawyer. And she got to a place in her career where she knew she had a choice. She could actually say yes to the offer on the table to be a partner in her law firm, or she could follow the thing that was rumbling in her soul. And as she puts it, she had a choice to go up or go out. God was calling her out to go in journalism, which is the thing she always wanted to do. She stopped listening to all the people that told her she should be partner, that she should stay in legal. And when I look at her on CNN and I watch her phenomenal legal mind, I realize that you cannot listen to anybody else's definition for you but God. See, you've got to pick up the author. You've got to pick up the pen and write the definition that defines your life. But that definition is poured into you by God. That's why Habakkuk 2 says, write the vision. I'm going to get into that in a minute. But here's the Bible verse in alignment with you. You've got to follow your own definition, the definition that was placed on you by God. It's Psalms 139, 13 through 16 that says, and it starts with, I know that full well. But here's where it starts. My frame was not hidden from you when I was made in the secret place. When I was woven together in the depths of the earth, your eyes saw my unformed bodies. All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be. I'm going to read that one more time because that one's kind of deep. My frame was not hidden from you when I was made in the secret place. See, God makes you in a place that nobody sees. That's between you and God. Even your parents, if your mother who birthed you didn't see you, but God did. When I was woven together in the depths of the earth. See, God knew the exact way he was going to use you. Your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be. So God knew you before you came here. He knew the gifts he was going to give you. He knew the way that you'd be here at this time. And so you've got to stop and realize when you're listening to everybody else's definition and not God's definition for your life, you're living in second gear. And the sad part about it is that second gear, some people will think it's fifth gear. Some people will look at you and think it's fourth gear, but you know it's not because you're being complacent. The second area you got to look at is you may have a supply demand. You may have a supply demand issue, sorry. And what do I mean by that? You know, it's interesting right now in COVID, we have this whole supply demand issue. And the supply I'm talking about with you is your mindset. Listen, if God is our ultimate supplier, you've got to stop limiting yourself by what you can see you can do. And look at what God says about you. 2 Corinthians 9:10 says, now may he who supplies seed to the sower and bread for food supply and multiply the seed you have sown and increase the fruits of your righteousness. But how's God going to supply and use you if you can't see it? You know, I talk about this having a bankroll zip code. See, many of you don't realize that whether it's the neighborhood you're from, whether it's your gender, there's so many things that the world has said that women shouldn't do. There's so many things that a little black girl from South Central LA, that my neighborhood, the thoughts and mindset my neighborhood put on me would have never been to be a CEO, would have never been to be running a multiple six-figure business, would have never been to have staff on my team. But I had to move past the supply my neighborhood gave me and move into God's supply for me. Y'all get that? So whatever that might be for you. I know for a long time, I thought, how can I do this thing? Because I didn't know what to call it. My undergraduate degree is TV and film. My expertise is producing and casting. How can I be a casting director and start? I thought I was going to be doing counseling. But see, that was me limiting what God could do. As my auntie has said to me over and over again, don't limit God's ability to bless you. I'm going to add to that, don't limit God's ability to use you. And so you've got to understand that oftentimes where you are is you're stuck in what was previous and not what is right now. See, being able to support your family, being able to do the work God has called you to do, all of that is why God gives you supply. You guys have heard me say this. Those of you that have been with me and have followed me, you know that I always talk about you making profit, that your purpose was created to profit. Profit means gain. So if you're going to gain the world, it doesn't benefit you if you stay stuck in who you used to be, in the mindset that used to be where you were. If I'm going to have $1 million dreams and $1 billion expectations of God, I got to get my mind in alignment or it's not going to work. Listen, Deuteronomy 8:18 says, but remember the Lord your God, for it is he who gives you the ability to produce wealth. And so confirms his covenant, which he swore to your ancestors as it is today. See, God wants to bless us. But if you serve a small God and you limit what God can do, oh, he's going to let you settle right there. As Proverbs 23:7 says, for as he thinketh in his heart, so is he, or as she thinketh in her heart, so is she. So what you thinking in your heart? Where's your mindset stuck? See, that supply demand issue will keep you right where you are. And many of you are staying in second gear because your mindset is saying, oh, this is where I'm supposed to be. Oh, I should be happy with where I am. Oh, I'm already doing great. Yeah, but God has so much more for you. When I look at who I am, my neighborhood, if it had its choice, should have been defined. Listen, my life should be defined by jail, drugs, or drive-by shootings. But God kept putting lights in my path, mentors in my path, coaches in my path, my opportunity to go to college and the people I met. And so all of that began to show me what was possible, but I've got to believe what's possible. I think this was Rosalind that says this. I've been limiting God's ability to use me, but that stops now because I don't show God my true and great gratitude. Right. Because every act, you're either honoring God or you're not putting respect on his name. And those of you that are around for our previous series, you know I'm talking about when I said you got to put some respect on it. So how are you using your mindset to move the kingdom forward? If you limit what's possible, you will sit in second gear. You'll stay stuck right there, never to go after all that's possible for you. And so sometimes it's your mindset in the way. So number one, the definition of success could be in your way and what other people are deem as successful for you. Yeah, all my friends thought I was crazy when I was leaving entertainment. Shoot, I thought I was crazy. But God had another level of success for me. I didn't see what I do now. I didn't see how this could be possible because there was no such thing as coaching. There was no such thing as being a motivational speaker back in the early 90s. I didn't know any of this, or it might have been a such thing, but I had never heard of it. My neighborhood hadn't given me the opportunity to see people like me. And what I realize now is I had to pick up the pen and define my life and stop letting other people do it. Number two, I had to look at my supply demand issue. Because my mindset was keeping me stuck in average supply, keeping me stuck in mediocre and complacent. And when I did the work, so I started shifting my bankroll zip code and began to see all the things that had been defining me. You know, there are a set of values that define your life, but so many of us never define our values. So then those things don't define us. Everything else defines us. Number three, many of you guys lack being work. So because you lack being work, your behaviors don't align with where God is taking you. So what do I mean by being work? Now my clients know I talk about this all the time. I call it the be, do, have formula. They call us human beings, but we're not. We're human doings. Because we need to focus on what do I need to do? What do I need to do? What do I need to do? And when you're living in a world that's defined by somebody else's success for you, when you're living in a world that's defined by the supplier demand that is already in you from where you came from, even those of you that have been through abuse or been through divorce or been through whatever, that supply demand to keep you where you are if you let it, if you don't do the work, which then speaks to this, which is you do what you know to do. But there's two things you need in any given situation. You need revelation and methodology. Revelation is the being work. So you stop being a human doing and you sit in your being. It's learning to let God speak to your soul. You know, a lot of the characters that I absolutely love in the Bible, one of my favorite girls, Esther, when she literally was faced with a decision that she could die, what did she do? She said, tell everybody to pray. She took it to God. If you look at the Bible, which is a book of the called, and all the times that people had such a hard decision to face, they didn't sit in second gear. They knew they were supposed to go to fourth and fifth. And what did they do? They sat in their being. Even our greatest example, Jesus, who also had to go to fourth, fifth gear. You know, what's interesting is we talk about the cross, we talk about the cross, we talk about the cross, but we don't talk about the garden that Jesus went to before the cross, the Garden of Gethsemane, when he sat in being, in quiet contemplation, and let God speak to his soul. It was in that place that he said to God, not my will be done, but thy will be done. He had to let go, but he had to sit in his being to be able to let go. And many of you can't let go of where you are in order to go after what's next for you. Your resume, your bio is done. To be able to go after what's next for you, who you are is great. There's a Bible verse, Philippians. Let me see if I can look it up real quick. Philippians 3. Look, I just put my Bible in here too. This is one of my first Bibles I got when I was in elementary school. I thought to myself, let me put a spare Bible in here because I always think of a Bible verse and I always want to look it up. And Philippians, I think it's 3. Let me see if I can look it up quickly. I believe it's Philippians 3, 14. And of course I can't find it because I'm trying to hurry up. Come on, Philippians 3. Where is it? Okay. Now this is a good news Bible. So it says Philippians 3, 13 and 14. Okay. Again, good news version. Of course, my brothers, I really do not think that I have already won it. The one thing I do, however, is to forget what is behind me and do my best to reach what is ahead. So I run straight toward the goal in order to win the prize, which is God's call through Jesus Christ to the life above. Oh, God has so much for us to do. He has called us to do so many things. I was trying to see if that was a Bible verse I wrote down here. But if we keep looking behind us and we don't sit and where God is calling us to go and be and do, we limit how we can be used. We sit in second gear. I see so many people that quit their businesses and go and get a full-time job. And when you're called to do, and I'm not saying there are some people that are called to go to career. Some of you guys get called back to career, and I get that. I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about the people that are meant to serve in this entrepreneurial landscape, but you quit because it gets too hard. And when it gets hard, that's when your being will make the difference. So when it got hard for Jesus, where did he go? Garden of Gethsemane to pray. He took his disciples with him and said, hey, y'all, I need y'all to watch and pray with me. So when you need help, gather people around you to help you so you can get your place, get yourself into that being space to get the revelation you need. And then hire a coach so you get the methodology you need so you can move forward from where you are. And so I'm going to take a quick break and I'm going to invite you. I am doing something called Purpose to Profit Masterclass. It starts tomorrow, it's 3 days. And it's in those 3 days that all I'm teaching you is so you can see where you are. But ultimately, again, you need two things, revelation and methodology. You're going to hear me say this over and over again because you can't do one without the other. God gave you the gift. He's not going to do the work. He'll speak to you. He'll tell you that you need to do it. He'll give you motivation and he'll put some fire into your butt. But then you got to hire somebody that can give you the methodology, because if you already knew how to do it, you would already be doing it. So I'm going to stop, do this commercial. I'll walk you through our last step, and then I'll tell you where you get part 2 tomorrow. I see so many people talking about finding their purpose or starting a business only to get off track or trying to do a million different things. And why is this a bad thing? Well, because you end up being just okay at many things, but never great at the one thing that God created you to do. Now, here's the thing. When you focus on your one true calling, your brilliance will naturally shine through and change your life. It'll change your life, your business, and your bank account for the better. But how do you figure out the strategy to align your purpose with profit? Well, that's the exact reason I'm inviting you to join me for my free 3-day Purpose to Profit Masterclass. Register to join me by going to purposeprofitmasterclass.com. Now, starting on Tuesday, May 17th through May 19th, I will be teaching you live each evening at 8 p.m. EST. See, in those 3 days, I'm going to share the insight that changed the game, not just for me, but it's shifted the trajectory for others that I've been blessed to coach and teach. And here's what you must know. When you understand your purpose and how God wired you to make a profit from it, when you understand that you're not called to serve everybody or do everything, but recognize what you are called to do and you stand in it and learn how to create multiple streams of income from it, it changes everything. You don't want to miss this. And here's something else you must know. God will let you live on whatever level you settle for. And why would you settle for good enough? Yeah, I said that even if you're already successful, God has more for you to do. And he has a breathtaking future waiting for you. And that's the exact reason I'm inviting you to join me. Go to purposeprofitmasterclass.com and reserve your seat. I can't wait to serve you. So excited about the methodology I'm going to walk you through in those 3 days together. So make sure you claim your seat. Again, it's purposeprofitmasterclass.com. Starting tomorrow night, I'll teach you live every night, and I will be answering questions and pouring in so that you get clear on how to move forward and get unstuck. Those of you that are stuck in second gear. So again, let me walk you through the first 3. Now, there's 8 areas. I'm going to walk you through the first 4, and then I know part 2, and I'll tell you where our part 2 is. I'll walk you through the last 4. Okay. So step 1, or one area. And again, I want you to see where you are. What area is keeping you in second gear? Is it that you're following someone else's definition of success? Is it number 2, that you have a supply demand issue because your bankroll zip code hasn't grown past what you used to be? Number 3, you haven't really, or I should say, you really have a lack of being. You don't know how to sit in your being. You're so focused on doing that you don't sit in your being, which means your behaviors aren't aligned to who you really are. And then last but not least for this part 1, number 4, is that you aren't connected to your DNA, your distinct natural ability. Listen, in Jeremiah 1:5, and I love the story of Jeremiah, who, and by the way, Jeremiah was called, and again, we all are called by God, but I want you to hear the fear in Jeremiah when God began to tell him, hey, I called you, I put DNA in you. And it starts in Jeremiah 1:5. Now, again, this is a conversation with Jeremiah and God. And God says first to Jeremiah in Jeremiah 1:5, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I sanctified you. I ordained you a prophet to the nations. Now, those of you that are saying, I'm not ordained and I'm not a prophet, listen, ordained means to establish or order by appointment, decree or law. So God appointed you a special role in this world when he gave you the DNA, the distinct natural ability that he gave you at birth. Sanctified means to set apart to set apart to a sacred purpose. All of us are set apart. But if you sit in average or status quo, then you aren't set apart. You're sitting in what everyone else says you should be. You're part of the crowd. When God made you to stand out. And so when God says that to Jeremiah, this is what Jeremiah says back to God in Jeremiah 1:6. He says, then said I, Lord God, behold, I cannot speak for I'm a youth. He's telling God what he can't do. You know, Moses stuttered. There's person after person in the Bible that had some kind of issue against them. And here's what God said. And this is verse 7-9. Do not say I'm a youth, for you shall go to all to whom I send you, and whatever I command you, you shall speak. Do not be afraid of their faces, for I am with you to deliver you, said the Lord. Then the Lord put forth his hand and touched my mouth, and the Lord said to me, behold, I have put my words in your mouth. So you got to understand that when you start to get in alignment with God's greatest gift for you, God shows up. I've seen how God does that. I mean, in the middle of me being afraid, if I pray, Lord, and this happened, listen, if I'm going to be really transparent, last Sunday I did a sermon. I haven't spoken in church and done a sermon in years. God called me out of church to work in marketplace to help you get clear on your purpose and to begin your businesses. But in the middle of COVID, God called me back into the church. I'm still doing marketplace, but I'm meant to be in both now. And so I said to God before I went to that church last Sunday, Lord, please don't let the praise team start getting the Holy Ghost take over the church right before I come up. Because of one thing I don't know what to do with. Because I'm not one of those people that go, I'm not prophetic. I'm not going to go, oh, well, I am prophetic, but I'm not prophetic in the church and telling people. I'm more prophetic around your purpose kind of way. So with that said, as soon as I stood, the pastor introduced me, as soon as I got up to the podium, to the pulpit, the Spirit took over. And I was like, oh, Lord. So first my nerves set in. At first I was thinking, oh, I'm not going to ever recover from this. I can't sing. There's a whole lot of stuff I cannot do. I started thinking about all that I can't do. I started being like Jeremiah, who said, Lord, behold, I cannot speak, for I'm a youth. So instead, in that moment of me being afraid, I said, okay, Lord, what do I do? And he said, trust me. So I said, okay, I put my hands out and I just started having Holy Ghost dance. While everybody else was Holy Ghost dance, I was praying, Lord, I'm giving this all to you. And as soon as I released it and let it all go to God, the Spirit started to calm. And I'm saying that to you because I could have sat in fear and ran off the stage and sat my butt down, which is what I wanted to do. But instead, in that moment, I just said, you know what? This is an atmosphere of praise. Let me just trust you, Lord, and I had my own moment of praise. I was reminded in that moment that when Jesus had his greatest fear, what did Jesus do? He got on his knees and he prayed. So you've got to understand that you have purpose inside of you. And so that's really why I'm walking you through this masterclass, because you've got to uncover your purpose. Your purpose has always been there, but you've got to do the work to uncover it. You've got to identify the platform it is meant to dwell in. And then from those two places is where you multiply your profits. You cannot move into fourth or fifth gear without it. But I also want you to identify if one of these first four areas of where you're stuck. And I want you to be clear on it, because if you don't get clear on where you're stuck, you won't be able to do the work to move past it. And don't worry, I'm going to give you all kinds of strategy tomorrow night. So as you grow in your purpose and you grow you can begin to serve more. It's about expanding your territory. It's about doing more and touching more people that need you. So again, purposeprofitmasterclass.com is where I'll pour into you. And yes, you need to register. And if you can't join us live, don't worry. The replay will be available for you. I'm going to leave it up till Sunday. But I want you to join me live so I can answer your questions live. So that's number one. Now, part two. I do part two of this series every week. I do it on Tuesday mornings. And I do that because I want you to be able to marinate on the first part. And then come on back because I give a lot. Let me tell you, when I'm writing this content, God is pouring so much into me. Sometimes it's a lot for me and I have to sit with it. So I want you to join me tomorrow morning so I can give you more and give you greater context to this conversation. Those are the first 4 areas. There are 8 you've got to look at. Many of you will be bumping up several areas, and I want you to realize if you are, then don't be hard on yourself. Give yourself grace and know that you're in the right place to get the strategy. You're in the right place to move it forward. You're in the right place to move into 4th or 5th gear so you can stop living in status quo or mediocre. So you can stop living in good enough so you can go after all that's possible for you. Okay? So again, I'll see many of you tomorrow morning, 8:30 a.m. in Clubhouse. FPPbreakfast.com is where you go. And that's it for this conversation for part 1. I look forward to pouring more into you tomorrow morning in Clubhouse. Do me a favor as you're thinking about this. Let me give you 4 areas to look at. Again, number 1, you're following someone else's definition of success. Number 2, you have a supply-demand issue when it comes to your money mindset, or bankroll zip code is what I call it. Number 3, you have a lack of being. You have a lack of being work, which means your behaviors don't align with who you really are. And then number 4, you're not connected to your DNA. You're not connected to your distinct natural ability. You're not connected to your purpose. If any of those areas are areas that you are suffering from, then you're in the right place. Make sure you join us again. Last time, purposeprofitmasterclass.com is where we will be starting tomorrow night. But tomorrow morning, I'm giving you even 4 more areas that you need to check. Check yourself so we can move you into a greater gear so that we can rev up the volume of your purpose so you can go after abundantly above all, not just for you, but every person that's connected to you. So I'll see many of you tomorrow morning for FPP Breakfast. Have a phenomenal rest of your day, y'all. Bye.